main topics are just the agenda. And what I'll do is I'll put the link to the minutes and the recording in the chat. I'll try and do that now. See if I can do that. Copy. I'm just going across to the chat, see if this works this time. There we go. So hopefully in there you've got details of the proceedings. What we mainly concentrated on was catching up on work which has been done previously on expression of wish tools. So we did a little summary at the beginning, explaining that what the session is really about is how we as a cooperative get to be able to start a debate on a topic of interest, express some sentiment on how we feel about that topic, what we think, what we individually and collectively feel about that topic, and whether there is consensus on it or not, and then go into a decision-making process, perhaps by voting or perhaps by further discussion, and then we cycle around and refine that debate. So basically it's how the discussion of democracy carries on through as a process, with the overall goal of, as a co-op, becoming more effective and efficient at making collective decisions. So that was, if you like, our starting point. So we got everybody on board with that as the basic concept. We then looked at stuff which had done before, the conversations which we had with Dan Connolly, all the tools, the use of Lumio, the stuff that Jim Scarver has been doing with Mattermost most recently, as looking at as a possible replacement for Discord as the official, if you like, tool for the collective on discussions, and the support of some of the concepts of a social ledger within that. So the work that Digital Life Collective have done on that, and the concept of social circles, if you like, embedding that within day-to-day discussion and chat. We talked about offline tools, how you'd use things like a wiki or a forum as a means of discussing topics offline, saying not enough use has been made of what we have at the moment. And going back to basics on the importance of a website as a place to navigate and structure the material and work of the co-op as a whole. So again, talking about that, Carl joined us from Govern, and I think at the next meeting he's going to be covering a little bit about the work that Govern have done, because we felt we didn't know enough about that. We also went on to talk about platform.coop and the work they're doing. And Ella, you and I think have an action to basically talk to Tribor Schultz about possible collaboration there, because I think there are quite a lot of overlaps there. And if we could work collaboratively on some of those tools, that could be good. So that's the Platform Cooperative Development Kit, because that is quite a big project. There's a lot going on. Steve has done some work on the charter, but we need to do more work on that. I think we agreed that we needed to do more work on the goals, the mission, the vision, and get some more immediate smart objectives in there. And I think I'll leave this for Steve to talk about when he joins. Steve on?
I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, well done. Okay, well,
yeah.
Right on cue
nice
then.
Workshop.
Right on cue. Fantastic. Dr. Richard Barbrook and the UK Labour Party.
So I've posted it on Discord, actually,
Yes.
on the European one for you guys to look at, right?
Has
It's confined at the moment for Europe.
Hold on, Steve. Is everybody a member of the RChain Europe server on Discord?
Don't know.
No, probably. Well, no, probably not everyone.
No, that's right. I think just be worth being aware of that. There is a server called RChain Europe on there.
Yeah.
I don't think there are many members on that at the moment. Certainly the only people online at the moment are me and Steve. But so we're talking to ourselves out there.
Having shared it with you previously.
It's what they call an echo chamber, Steve. Yeah. So
I mean, I'll post it to Ella. If you have the list of participants to this meeting that you send out to, you can certainly feel free to post it to all of them. So what had happened was, just to sort of give people an update as to, if they didn't know about this. So when we started this journey back in September, I had postulated with Greg and Ayla that the Labour Party in the UK wanted to curate their budget for their manifesto in their challenge to the Conservative Party, because they want to do democracy from the ground up. This is how Jeremy Corbyn got elected. So it's very much in Jeremy's DNA. Richard Barbrook, who I met many moons ago and who I used Polis with at previous Labour Party meetings to trial it in order to curate sentiment from the membership. And bear in mind, the backdrop to this is the Labour Party grew to 600,000 members. It's by far the biggest political party, member-wise, in Europe. Dwarfs the Conservative Party, who have only 150,000 members. So curating sentiment from 600,000 members is a non-trivial exercise logistically, right? The way that they do it now is they have local meetings in different wards, and it kind of rolls up eventually, but the sentiment gets lost along the chain, a bit like Chinese whispers. So they wanted a better way, and that's why they started looking at Polis, Lumio and stuff like that. I met Richard and I spoke to Ayla and Greg about Richard's endeavours as the digital czar of the Labour Party, the guy that's been given the responsibility to map out how they can do this. And he did this on the backdrop of writing the digital manifesto for the Labour Party, which I stuck on Discord, which you'll all see. So he wrote that, and it's signed by, as the author, Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of the Labour Party, the leader of the opposition in the UK. So this is not trivial. This is pretty big shit. So Richard, I reached out to, having talked to Ayla and Nick and Andreas, I reached out to Richard and said, you really need to meet Ayla, Nick and Andreas, because we really want to hear what you've got to say. What is it your aspirations are? Where do we have common cause? Partly because at the end of the day, we're looking for budget, right? To advance our cause. And if that's aligned with the Labour Party, then maybe there's a way of doing it. And Richard sent back an email that included that John McDonnell is, looking to get budget to do some stuff, to do exactly this, curation of the budget, or at least parts of it. So that's now in play. And Richard has kindly said, which is interesting given you said Tuesday's meeting that includes Govern may also include 20-minute session up front probably, with Richard talking about what their aims and aspirations are. So we want to understand where the winning post is for them. And therefore we could then map that to what it is we could do from a consultative perspective and from a technology perspective. So both. And that's where we are. So hopefully that will get shared to everybody. You'll see the email and you should see the Digital Party Manifesto and a whole bunch of links, because Dr. Richard Barbrook's been very active in this space. So that's it, full stop.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks so much. Well, I think first of all, thanks for that. Thanks for putting us in touch. And I was really happy to see that Richard replied this afternoon and that he's also to join the next Expression of Wish call. And I think, that's just the right forum to have him on board. And I'm really excited to talk to him and just see whether we can share some of our research, some of the stuff we've been working on, and see whether this fits to where they are at and whether we can help them to get a better understanding of, of needs and opinions within the membership. So maybe we get there. And if not, we certainly have a great conversation. I'm sure.
Absolutely. There's one interesting observation I'll leave you with that Nick and I were observing, that any of you that are likely to follow the British press, in particular about the Labour Party and Jeremy Corbyn, often the British press portrays the Labour Party as a mess because they have debates in public. Does this sound vaguely familiar to anyone from the US? Right? So we're not alone in muddling along, making mistakes along the way. The Labour Party has done that too. And I think that actually gives us probably a huge common cause and common concern as to how you navigate through those problems. I think the fact that we've had them ourselves and we're trying to figure out ways around that to mitigate where the issues are really helps position us.
Mm. Yeah, I'm especially glad that that we are now. It seems that we are approaching some real world projects, and that we maybe at least once in a while can leave a little bit our ivory tower of research and internal communication. So I just see that Rashid is asking the question whether we can tie this together with the SPD, which is the German Labour Party, the Social Democrats, and Andrea Nahles. So maybe to quickly talk about that, there's an interesting parallel because we here at Supermarkt, and by the way, this is Thomas Dönnebrink sitting next to me.
Hi.
So he will be
Hi, Thomas.
At Friday's meetup, and Thomas is a part of WeShare, and he's my partner in the organization of all the platform co-op events. So Thomas and I are collaborating very closely with Trevor Scholz and Platform Co-op Consortium. And we have had a meeting with Andrea Nahles. Basically, Trevor was invited, but then he also took us with him. So we handed over a political strategy paper for just for raising awareness of co-ops in Germany. And that was actually pretty good. So they are very interested in putting that on their political agenda. So I'm thinking if we are, if we have a similar conversation going on, both in Berlin and in the UK, that would be really fantastic because we are already talking to our Social Democrat Party. I don't think they're as active and as sharp as the Labour Party currently is because they are really facing, a very current threat. Ours is still a little bit laid back, I would say, but their biggest threat is that probably people will lose interest in them and stop voting for them altogether if they don't come up with some exciting new program. So that's an interesting parallel. And just to answer your question, Rashid, that's certainly something we should make sure to tie that together.
We can also add Korea to that as well. Just had a call earlier today with Jonathan. Jonathan, are you on?
Jonathan?
Not Jonathan Kochmer.
Yeah, he's here.
So, hi, Jonathan.
Hi, I'm just auditing.
Can you speak?
Yes, I'm here. Go ahead.
Just about this topic of democracy and debate and the quality of democracy. It might be worth mentioning then that to your colleagues in Korea that you're going to be having that conversation with in government, that this is a topic which we're actively discussing with UK political parties and potentially with German political parties as well. So it adds a bit of momentum to that discussion, perhaps.
Sorry, I have to laugh at the use of the word.
Yes, that's true. That was accidental.
Those of you that know the British Labour Party will know why I'm saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the question of the quality of democracy, how we manage the fake news debate, if you can manage, but how you mix, if you like, political engagement with quality discussion about policy, and then you get into government and have government turn that into government democracy. It's all an interesting sort of topic area. So a lot of that stuff that came up in that bid, Ella, which you alerted us to, which was from, what was the name of the consultant of the
Civitatis call.
That's Civitatis, yeah. The Civitatis.
I'll post the link. Just wait a second.
Yes, yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
so
that's
really
interesting.
And there's a really good link in there to some academic material on this. So there's a lot of work which has been done, past papers studying and really recent papers studying the problem and looking out for what the current state of the art is on research into this topic. So and there are some nice diagrams in there as well, nice conceptual pictures of how this works. So all good stuff to put into a proposal for a discussion. Yeah. Anyway, so that was a big topic from the expression of wish session. We then got into some further discussions about funding on Horizon 2020, what to do about that. we were going to, I think, Steve, to go and write some letters to people who are other bidders for work under that to see whether we can piggyback on their work or whether we could add something to their work. We talked about working with potentially the University of Brighton. I've had some really interesting discussions with the architecture school in the University of Brighton about how you do collaborative architecture. So, and there's some good stuff there about, the purpose of architecture. Quite, again, some interesting academic thought there. And then that links in, interestingly, to IDRC in Canada. So this is the Inclusive Development Research Centre in Toronto, and they are working with platform.coop. So I think, again, Ella and Thomas, they have links. You may have links with them, I don't know. But the University of Brighton were keen to know who they were because they have a close association with that university, with that design centre in Toronto.
Yeah, I know. And isn't Trevor collaborating with them?
Yeah, that's right. Trevor. So these guys are the subcontractors, effectively, for that project. And so they're the people doing all the development work and a lot of the research work.
Right.
So they're the people who put up that the collaboration site on it.
Absolutely.
So they seem to be running it for Trevor.
Yeah, and they have been really doing a great job in visualizing platform co-ops, what they are actually all about, because especially here in Europe, that's very often a problem to explain people what's the idea behind it. So they did a great job with that. So are you basically suggesting, Nick, that this would be an interesting approach of coming up with a consortium?
Yeah, if you could, I think if we could come up with this, if we could read through their stuff, basically highlight areas of where we think we could work together, and then we could send them maybe a note to say, can we discuss, here's an agenda for a discussion, and we could see if we could work out with them whether how we could work with them. I'm not going to say how it would turn out, but basically we just come up with an agenda and then have a more focused discussion with them. That would be, I think, helpful.
Yeah, we can do that. We can set up a call with them. I'm pretty sure that Trevor, since we are very closely in touch, and I think if he can support such a call, I'm absolutely positive that he's going to do it, unless he has any, I don't know, like legal restrictions for acting on behalf of the new school or the Platform Co-op Consortium, but it could be that.
I think they're pretty open. They're working on a lot of the EU work as well. They're working on the cloud, the open access cloud project for the EU as well. They're doing a lot of global work, so I think they're pretty open. Next thing is,
No, it's that's okay. So I'm going to ask him. And then let's try to get a proposal together. All we need is a concept paper.
Yeah, happy to draft something to get that started, and then if we maybe set up a call to prepare it, that would be good.
Yeah. We do have a lot of drafts right now. We have been drafting stuff for all sorts of possible calls in German, in English.
Reuse it. That's right.
Really, it's the moment of tying it together. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay.
Thanks so much for that, Paul.
That's great. The next thing is just to highlight there is work going on governance in the RChain Co-op overall on the formation of the governance committee.
Right.
So this is something that the directors are looking to see formed, and there's a draft charter on that. And this is really not about the expression of wish work, which is about the process by which we make decisions. This is more about the structure of the co-op as a whole at the highest level. Well, highest level, that sounds a bit hierarchical, doesn't it? It's not hierarchical. It's just saying for all the units in the co-op, how do they all sort of fit together in a way where we can avoid overlaps, conflicts, we can work together in a coordinated way? What is the minimum level of overarching, if you like, coordination that you need, and what are the principles of that? So that charter's been drafted. I'd be really helpful if people could take a look at that and add to that, as it is governance is such a public focus at the moment, and there are a lot of public documents out there where people are reviewing RChain and talking about governance being one of its key problems. So anything we can do where we can, if you like, firm up on the overarching governance so it looks as if we are in more control, that would be good.
So, so the committee is already at work, right?
Yeah, that's, well, the committee is just, well, it's draft still. So I've had a discussion with Kenny about the draft on Monday. So there's a couple of small changes in there, but basically it's sort of ready to go, but we would like more people to have a look at it and check whether they're comfortable with what's in there. One of the, as far as we're concerned, there is a sort of an obligation in there that every group has to create a charter or a term of reference to say, you know, what they're trying to achieve and how they're going to collaborate with other groups where appropriate, and where there are common resources, scarce resources within the co-op as a whole, like people's time or money in particular, or maybe external commitments, then those are things which must be coordinated and must be owned in a collective way, so that we don't, either consume those resources or contradict each other.
I can totally see that, and I also think this needs to inform the current bylaws, because as we talked about during one of the previous meetings, I think the bylaws are designed for more of a consumer co-op, but not for what RChain actually is. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how this then informs the bylaws and how they need to be amended, because I think that's a point as well.
There's a lot of stuff which is just boilerplate, I think, from external organizations, and I was trying to sort of think, external conventional co-ops and organizations, and this one I think really does need to be thought through.
Absolutely.
But it's really important that there is at least some central point in this governance committee, a registry, if you like, of all the groups which are operating and where they fit. Now, where it should put that stuff, I don't know, probably on a website, but that's what we thought was an important thing.
Yeah.
So that's really about it. I mean, I think Jonathan, though, I said in here, Asia has no report at the moment because they're far too busy with fundraising and business development. I can confirm that they are, and they're doing a fantastic job. So Jonathan probably has some stuff to say if he's still on the call.
Jonathan.
I'm putting on the spot.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe not. Yeah.
Hi, bear with me a second.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll make this as brief but as informative as utterly possible. So the Korean government has prioritized blockchain at the federal level as a technology that they really want to embrace. At the provincial level, the newly elected governor of Gyeongsang-buk-do province, which is the largest province geographically in the country, he actually ran on a platform of making Gyeongsang-buk-do a zug of blockchain. It wants to become a global blockchain center of excellence. And there's $400 million budgeted for supporting blockchain and AI in particular. And so that's happening at the provincial level, and they want to get 220,000 companies in Gyeongsang-buk-do utilizing blockchain in some capacity. At the federal level in Korea, just this week, one of the ministries has decreed that it is now a national imperative for Korea to battle fake news using blockchain, AI, and other appropriate technologies. And also, they have made a national priority for developing e-governance models. So consequently, we were asked to be the first foreign partner, RChain, to be the first foreign partner to come in for a week of RChain activities, which will include 4 days of intensive role-playing workshops being delivered to college professors in computer science, and they will go off and teach Rolang at their respective universities. And simultaneously, because of the domain overlap of these federal initiatives and our platform partners, we're bringing Proof, our platform partner Proof, that is battling fake news with RChain technologies, to give presentations and to meet the minister that made this a priority, a national priority. And in addition, we're bringing, we'll probably have Govern attending remotely to talk about e-governments. And we're also bringing Chris Boscolo from Life ID, and he'll be, of course, communicating with the minister that's interested in e-governance, along with along with Govern. And then simultaneously, the largest insurance company in Korea has been talking to my business development director for RChain Asia, Jocelyn, and they're interested in RChain for insurance. So we're also going to bring in Gotham from ReSure, another RChain blockchain platform. And so we'll be bringing Gotham and Chris Boscolo together with the insurance company Hanwha, to propose that Hanwha pay for a proof of concept of the application of blockchain to the specific domain requirements of an insurance company. I've received approval from Kenny that one of our expert Rolang programmers would be available to develop the proof of concept. This would be a proof of concept that they would pay for, because to create a good proof of concept for a very large insurance company would require ensuring that the features of Rolang and mainnet fulfill the needs of a large company. So this would actually be a twofer, in that the developer would be being paid for, at least in part, by the insurance company, and the developer would be working on feature sets required for mainnet launch. So I see that as a positive sum game if we can get that done. And that's my update in brief.
Oh, sounds incredible. Congratulations, Jonathan.
Not much going on there, Jonathan.
Well, it's more than the two of us can handle.
Wow. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of great stuff going on in Asia. That's fantastic. I wish we could have some of that in Europe. But nonetheless, we also have a modest call to make. Maybe Steve, you just want to reach out, because I wonder if we have anyone, probably not in this call, but I have already sent out another email, because there is also a request for hosting a hackathon. Steve, I leave it up to you to explain more about it.
Yeah, so many moons ago, I was one of the authors of the SOA Manifesto. One of the authors is a guy called Clemens Uchig. He is the CTO of Boehringer Ingelheim, which is a privately held, large global pharmaceutical company in Germany. And he approached me because he's been tracking the RChain stuff since I joined. And he approached me because he wants to conduct some sort of hackathon in support of some sort of business objective on behalf of Boehringer Ingelheim. So what we need is somehow to train, as it were, through a hackathon, a group of people that will be brought together. So what they need is Rolang skills, right? They need people that know RChain and know Rolang to help with that. Now, I have pinged Tim. I know Tim's kind of gone quiet on us, and I understand why. I have pinged him because I know he has resource to do that. But I think we're going to be approached in this way again by somebody else, if not the same people, somebody else. So it would be much nicer if we could be, if we as RChain Europe could direct those skills to the right people and act as a kind of broker between, whilst at the same time creating a skill pool that we can leverage over time. It will benefit whoever is in the skill pool, or whoever the organization is that owns different skills in the skill pool. But it allows us to more strategically place the bets that we need to place over time. So there's a general call out to Europe, who can help with this? Because we can't keep going to the US. We've got to start building the skills in the house, as it were, or at least in Europe.
Yeah.
So I think, is that it, Ella?
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I know that apart from Tim, also Peter and Claire Tolan, who is an RChain developer and who has a expertise in Roland. She's based in Berlin. They would also be interested in making a bid for that. So just to let you know.
And Christian, little Christian, who's like 2021, right? You can't forget him once you've met him. Smokes the thinnest cigarettes that it's possible to roll. He and his colleagues who are doing stuff in Germany right now have definitely been playing with Roland. So getting them on board would certainly be another potential place where we could go for Roland skill.
Absolutely, and it would also be yet another pilot for us where we start, just with at least some people that are able to run hackathons or that are able to teach a little bit of Roland. Because as I said, there's interest from universities, and there is even my friend Sönke, professor at the University of Saar, who repeatedly says that they would be super happy to offer a Roland course at the university, simply because students are really looking for alternatives when it comes to programming languages. So they would be happy to make space for that. It's just a question of who could do it. And, so that, just having a pool of people that would be able to run hackathons, to do some educational work would be amazing. Maybe that's a good starting point. Yeah. So, and then maybe just rounding off the potential fundraising. So we do have a meeting tomorrow with Rubicon.io. That is the company that Stephen Bisayo brought into play. He met them in Malta, and they are basically looking for a bunch of people that can help them with their accompanying their ICO. They are working in the field of medical marijuana. They are based in Canada. And we'll meet them tomorrow, and we'll see what comes out of that. So I'm interested to see what will be the result.
Yeah, it gives a totally new meaning to toke on economics.
Right. But I think it's a great moment for them, and there is a huge interest in Germany because there is now, German has now issued this public bids where companies can apply for becoming suppliers for medical marijuana, but they need preferably Canadian companies because they need to show that they have experience already in that field. So legally, there's no company in Germany that already has that experience because it wasn't allowed. And now everyone seeks to partner up with companies like that. So there is a chance, and let's see how we can help them. Yeah, and other than that, we do have our RChain Europe meetup on Friday, and I think it's going to be a great evening. We will live stream it. We'll send you the invite link, and we just have people here that happen to be in Berlin at this moment. So there was budget-wise, it wasn't possible for us to fly anyone in, but the good thing about Berlin is there are always people here. So we make use of that, especially now when so many conferences are going on. And we'll basically talk about distributed governance and share our learnings. And we hear from governance models from people like Sako Tronsoko from the Peer-to-Peer Foundation. He will introduce us to the guerrilla translation governance model. We have Joachim, founder of Yolocom, working on identity solutions. You probably know him as well. We have Francesca Pick working at Greater Than. It's a collaborative finance platform. There will be Jose from Collective One, Peppo from Collective One joining in, Thomas from WeShare. So we have 10 speakers all together, and I think it's going to be a very interesting evening. And we didn't want to focus too much on the technology side right now, but we just try to share some of our learnings and see what we'll come up with. So those of you that
if you Ella, if you want me to sort of dial into that in some way, even if briefly, then I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, it would be fantastic, actually. And I just wanted to ask you, because I was aware that it would probably be a little bit too much to ask you to come over for this event, but we would be very happy to have you in the conversation. Also, Greg is going to dial in by 9 p.m. our time, which would be, I think, would be 8 p.m. your time. I don't know whether this is a good timing for you on a Friday night, Steve, but if you could do it.
I don't think I have anything. So I don't think I have anything, so I can do that. Yeah.
That would be great, because then
I can certainly do that.
Because the thing is, we do have some people such as Peppo and others who would be interested to talk a little bit about the technological aspects of Rolang and things like that. And we just want to make some space for that. But I sent you an email and I let you know a little bit more about it and how we could do remotely. Yeah, that would be excellent.
As far as promotion for your event on Friday goes, I'm involved with the marketing organization, which has been dissolved, but there's a number of people who are working as free agents. And we've seen that in the calendar, and people like Alberto, who does the social media, and Jeremy, who does blog posts and such, they're all willing to help promote your event. So if you can send us some content through one of the channels, we'll be happy to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've pasted it on Discord already. So I basically everyone in the marketing team should know that probably since Patrick is gone, there might have been a drop in communication or anything. But I'm happy to send everyone.
Okay, I'll check Discord, and if we think we need anything, we'll let you know. But we discussed it in our Monday meeting.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm totally happy to give you some infos. Also, if you want to look it up on our website, I can just post. I can post the link here.
Yeah, I looked at your website yesterday, so okay. It looks good.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, that's basically it. And we do have a meetup group here in Berlin, and I can paste the link as well.
Okay. Well, I'm in Rotterdam and I won't be making it to Berlin, but I'll cheer from afar.
Okay, great. We haven't met yet. Can you just give us a little bit of background, or maybe just me, because we haven't been in touch yet, right?
Right. Yeah, we shook hands briefly in Berlin, but that was a busy time. My name is Kip Blake, and yeah. I'm I've been involved with RChain for some time in the community, and my interest is to play an advisor role. So I've been trying to help out on certain things where I think help is needed. And in the recent months, I actually started working with the marketing org, doing what we call operational support, just helping Patrick keep things running smoothly and making sure the infrastructure works and such. I figured that was the best place that I could apply my talents. And I've founded a couple of companies, so I can wear a lot of hats. And when I participate in an organization, I look around and see holes. So that's the role I've been trying to fill. And I can actually chime in about your conversation earlier in terms of the statutes of the co-op, because when I first joined, HJ, who used to be in the board, he asked me to look at the onboarding, and there was a contract with very disturbing language talking about a rebate. So I started digging, and eventually I found out that the statutes of the co-op are entirely based on the statutes of the REI cooperative. And REI is a company that sells outdoor equipment.
Yes.
Yeah. They have a co-op plan where if you participate, then you get miles, like air miles. And at the end of the year, then you get points and you can use them to buy more equipment. And when they were founding RChain, I think they looked around and they found this REI cooperative, and they took their statutes word for word and did a search and replace of REI for RChain, and that became the statutes of the organization.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Kit. I think I've looking at some of the stuff. That's exactly how it comes across. There's a lot of search and replace, even on some of the new stuff that's going in, and it really does need proper thinking through. I think there's some good guidance actually from coops.org, or I think it's there's a good report which looks at different models of governance co-ops, and which compares best practice of all the statutes and has lots of different types of models based on ownership. So there's some really good research material out there now. Again, it's in that thread, I think, on the governance, hashtag governance thread. There's a link to it in there. If you're interested in that stuff, there are some great reports around on how governance works. But it's something that, we're different because we are very adaptive, and units will appear and disappear. It's just really important that they understand what their obligations are in respect of the structures outside the co-op, which don't change, like the legal, the HR obligations and stuff like that. We have to work out, how we can be free and flexible, yet still meet the basics of end-to-end processes like, hire to retire, or procure to pay, or, marketing to sales, all that sort of stuff. We have to do that in the world of today. But internally, we want to do it as flexibly as possible. So so we've got to have a model which works out how to do that.
Yeah. It does raise the prospect, Kit and Nick and Ayla and Rashid and Andreas, if he's on the call, of using our expression of wish at some point to derive the sentiment that's required to drive policy change in different geographies to support the cooperative models we want in the future.
Yeah, Steve, I totally second that. And thank you so much for mentioning that, because I have to tell you honestly, this problem does not only apply to our sister co-op in the US, it also applies to our cooperative model that we have here, because, our statutes are also, they are really like a bare bone version of statutes, and they don't say that much. And our bylaws have been created around the partnership of making use of the technology that RChain US is producing, and also helping to promote what they are doing. So I'm just not sure, currently we are not doing that simply because we are not there yet. But there is something new evolving out of our discussions. And I really have the feeling that in the near future, it's also about entirely revisiting our own statutes and thinking about the organization we would like to have here in Europe. Because for me, it's not very clear yet. We do have this, we have constituted ourselves because we were in a rush. It was the wish of the board to really have RChain Europe ready for RCon 3, and we try to get there. But the real work still needs to be done. And I have the feeling it's only now, slowly, that we are getting to a point where I get a sense of the identity of RChain Europe and what it actually is, both in relation to the US, also in relation to Asia, but also within, right? So there's a whole lot of work that waits on that level. But we couldn't...
there's an interesting target, given that Luan is also on the call. There's an interesting target here, and I don't know how Luan may or may not be connected, but Cyril Ramaphosa is now the president of South Africa, right? And Cyril's pedigree, I haven't met Cyril, but I've met most of the people around him. And the ANC as an organisation is probably about ready now to engage in how do they become more democratic from their membership up. So, you know, if Luan has any thoughts on how we might approach people in the ANC or the government in South Africa, that would be a pretty good target, because they're much more likely to use this technology than many Western governments, and do so fairly quickly, because they have a challenge, and yet there are a lot of smartphones out there. So you need smartphone access to be able to engage in wider debate in South Africa, because you've got a population that don't necessarily have laptops and tablets. They tend to live off their mobile phones. It's just an interesting thought, given Luan's on the call.
Luan,
he's still
hello.
silent.
Ah, yeah, maybe he comes back. Yeah, so, you know, I just want to say, you know, all these issues do not only apply in the US, they also apply to us, and we also need to think of the nature of the organization that we want to have in the future. Just founding a co-op is not enough. There is much more stuff that needs to be done. But I trust that we are hopefully growing into an answer. And I have to tell you honestly that this model that will probably emerge, I like much better than the original one.
Yes, I think just in the meantime, though, we do need to be aware of how we're being seen, you know, from the outside. There is an excellent article which the Chinese media have published recently, assessing RChain, what they think about it, and governance is all over that that assessment of RChain as a technology and as a platform. So I'll send you. I'll just put a link in here. It was posted in the Asia group, but it was a really interesting, you know, very frank view of what they thought of the co-op. So it was a one WeChat. Mm-hmm. But I mean, have a look at it. It's quite a big report. It's really good on the technology. So it's saying it's a great technology, great potential, but it's very critical of the governance again. So it's just, we just have to be always aware that the stuff we produce, everything we do is very public, and there's an extraordinary amount of detail in that report, which just reflects how much we put out there, good and bad.
Yeah, totally. I can see that.
Yeah, but there's there is some good stuff on there overall. I mean, I think it's a good report, but we do need, I think, to say something about our governance externally to show that we are stabilizing. So I think, you know, you do need to think
absolutely. About that's what we've been advocating for quite a while, to come up with a, you know, with a board statement to let people know what are the changes that are currently being adopted. I think it's very essential, because as you say, Nick, I think RChain has been doing a really good job in documenting everything, and they really made sure to put all the info out there, live stream every talk, putting everything on GitHub. But the thing is, if this is not moderated, if stuff like that is not facilitated to the public, then it's it's very inviting for all sorts of misunderstanding and interpretation, and that's exactly what happened. And I think
in this instance, I think it's quite a fair report. Actually, I was quite impressed with that. I thought they've done a good job, but there are some specific points in there which I think do need reply on.
Yeah, so that's certainly something that we all will need to work on. But not now. Over the past weeks, I think we here, at least, I mean, basically everyone, but at least here, the Berlin team has been busy in just, you know, creating a basis for survival in a way, and making sure things can go on a very basic level. But yeah, let's see. So we are moving on week by week, and curious to see what we'll talk about next week then. So since we are approaching the end of our chat. I just want to make sure if anyone wants to say something that hasn't talked yet. It feels like there is something they would like to share.
Yeah, I would like to speak. There was also this woman who I saw in South Africa who might be of interest. I just stumbled upon the article, but I'm looking for her name. It looks like her name is Gwen. I don't know how to pronounce this. I can barely pronounce my own name. Ngwenyanya. Here, I'm going to copy it and paste it into the chat there. I have to do a little bit of research to see about her, but from what I understand, she's an up and coming youth leader in South Africa who's fostering a lot of respect by just speaking the fucking truth, not giving a fuck. And I'm totally down to work with people like that. She might be interesting for us to try and reach out to, and I would be interested in maybe coordinating with Lewin if Lewin comes back or has some time. Maybe we can reach out to her and figure out a way to start a conversation.
I was just thinking I'd be really interested in having a chat with her for sure. So yeah, definitely.
Work, cool. I have other things, but I also need to hop on a call. I'm consulting with another organization, so I need to do some coaching. But it was really great having the chance to follow up on conversations that I've been missing out on. I appreciate all of you continuing to work, and I hope to be able to be more available in the coming weeks after I get back from my travels and finish with this coaching.
Thanks so much, Rashid, for checking in. Good to see you.
I also have another article that's going to be coming through to you. I've started it, but I'm like halfway through. I just want to give you an update there.
Oh, really? Thanks so much. Yeah. Lovely. I really appreciate that, because it's just so good if we can still put stuff on the blog.
Yeah, and I confirmed the meeting with Smart.
Oh yeah. Oh, fantastic. Okay. And we Thomas and I will just in half an hour, we go over to their office and celebrate their opening. So
tell them congratulations, and that I'll be sending over the rest of my forms in the next days.
Okay. Hey,
and
thanks so much.
Rashid, just to let you know, I am connected to Gwen through a mutual acquaintance. Yeah. Dr. Ramaphosa was trying to consolidate two parties into the Democratic Alliance, of which Gwen is the head of policy and a member of parliament.
Yes, that's amazing. Would you mind introducing us or finding?
I'll reach out to Dr. Ramaphosa to get an intro. And Dr. Ramaphosa was, if you ever watched Cry Freedom, very beginning, a woman goes into the paper, the Daily Mail, and gives the editor a hard time. Friend of Steve Biko. That's Dr. Ramaphosa.
Amazing. One last point about South Africa. I spent a month there last year in January, and I made a lot of connections in the area of design. So I have a couple of university connections there that are looking to fund research and to do like innovation hubs in rural spaces in the Eastern Cape. So if we have a strong proposal, I also have a connection there who just built a community center in a small rural village. And he's been trying for years now to get a blockchain something. He wants to bring technology there and see how we can start to design services with local residents instead of for local residents. And it's something that I've been pushing him to do and supporting him with. But there's a lot of opportunities that I also have there. So I would like to be involved, if possible, in discussions about things to do in South Africa, since I'm rather connected.
Okay.
So I'm going to be, both of you guys, Steve, I also just saw your chat message. I'm going to be in South Africa from the 5th of December until mid-January. So yeah, any of those contacts I can follow up with and see what we can do there.
I will ping you virtual intros to the people that both of you. Okay, so I'll do what I can my end. I've got to just find Dr. Rampele's email, but I'll find that and then I can send her a message.
Please do that.
Okay.
Then I'll try to also, with you, Lewin, maybe coordinate some other conversations with people I know that maybe we can get you in front of them while we're there. I also had the opportunity to speak with the big design conferences there. Is it Design in Daba? The organizer of that wanted me to speak, but we couldn't find the funds to bring me down. But that's also another organization that might be able to get a lot of notoriety there with. So let's coordinate on those conversations and maybe talk before you're in South Africa. I've got to go. Thank you all again.
Yeah, same here. So thank you all. And those that celebrate Thanksgiving, I wish you a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. Enjoy the time with family and friends. And for us Europeans, we'll just move on business as usual. And I'll send you the link for the live stream on Friday. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Ella. Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.